afternoon, all of you. Post-lunch session is difficult to moderate because the stomachs are full and the people slow down. But I'll try to make this interesting. Insurance is a subject which has been a subject of much study. Over the years, I've done interviews with a lot of people in the industry. An issue which has creates a lot of curiosity in a country which is the most underinsured, one of the most underinsured in the world, for an economy of its size. It's a good opportunity. The benefits are unknown to many, and surprisingly so. What I learned while going through your book digitally, I bought a copy just now, but I had a soft copy which I read before I came here. There is so much of ignorance about this subject, even in the very educated set of people. And I think Happily Insured by Kapil Mehta, this is the book, is something I think which will go a long way in dispelling the many myths around this industry and how to buy the right product. I would like to start by a personal anecdote which I would want your inputs on. There is this gentleman who was an MBA in finance from University of Virginia, was CEO of one of the most successful companies in this country, and suddenly he was detected that he had cancer. And he resigned from the company quickly after. And due to some reason or the other, he couldn't claim insurance for his disease. The insurance cover was provided by the company. He had not taken any personal insurance. There was some technical issue which said that since he's no more with the company, how could he be covered under the cancer insurance? This gentleman started a campaign called CANSURE, C-A-N-S-U-R-E, where he was talking about consumer rights and how. So my point was, I realized that somebody who's at that level is running company where he is responsible for the health of thousands of people, literally, could go wrong. Which means there is an information deficit. Could you start your first answer with that? The information deficit, and what led you to writing this book?
There is information deficit, Tarun, but there's also a difference in perspectives. So when you are a very successful chief executive officer like the person you're describing, often you don't really think about what can go wrong, what the risks which can come across to you. In my case, it's a little different because I'm in the business. So every single day, including Sundays, I will see 100 hospitalization claims taking place through our client base, and I will see one death taking place every single day. So what happens is that, as far as I'm concerned, I begin to realize that these are very real possibilities for all of us, and we'll always think about how we can mitigate these risks. Unfortunately, people don't think like that. Also, no matter how many books we write, the pace at which people are going to get educated about insurance is going to be a slow pace. It's not going to happen overnight. And so what I've thought is that I have a responsibility to think of ways by which I can insure people in bulk or in large numbers, sometimes in a way that I know is best for them. And sometimes I may not have the time to explain to somebody that you should buy a health insurance like this, or home insurance like this. I'll just place it in a way, or I'll combine it with something else they're buying. That's the way we sort of move forward.
Health is also a chapter that you have spoken a lot about in your book, the issue of health insurance. This is also the country where a large section of the population is pushed into poverty because they don't have access to health insurance. Hospitals become the reason people become poor. So this is a great opportunity for the companies. Where do you think the companies have been going wrong, and what they could do so that we could have a large section actively subscribing to something like a health insurance?
This has changed so dramatically in the past 10 years, because there was a time 10 years ago, people would say, why do we need health insurance, etc., etc. Now the questions I get are, tell me, particularly after COVID, I really want to buy a health insurance. Tell me how I can go about it. Or in fact, more often than not, I have a problem. I've got hypertension, diabetes, etc., etc. Tell me what I should buy. So I think there has been a sea change. I think the government still has a fabulous role to play, which through schemes like Ayushman Bharat they do, because in one shot you cover like 100 million people. I sometimes get surprised that many people are not aware of the schemes which they have access to. Of course, there's a huge amount of effort that needs to go into building hospital capacity because most of it is concentrated in the metros and the larger cities. But as you go to the tier 2, tier 3, smaller towns, there just isn't the capacity over there. But I think the government is and just the private ecosystem is very aware of this. And every quarter, every month, there's a step forward. But there's a long way to travel.
On the question of life insurance, where do you see us progressing as a country? Because earlier life insurance was uncommon. Not many were taking these products, but slowly we see that the acceptance has gained ground, especially in the educated community. A lot of life insurance is being sold. People are ready to pay up huge premiums so that they can, in a sense, get some money in case some unfortunate incident happens. Could you just delve into the specifics of the life insurance sector?
So one of the big problems in life insurance is that life insurance has different kinds of products under it. So you have the investment plans. Many people in this room would have bought it, where they would say that, when somebody gets married or something, there's a sum of money they get back. So it's bought with the purpose of investment or saving. And then there's life insurance, which is like a pure risk, a term plan, which is if you die, you get a huge sum of money. But if you survive, you get nothing. The problem is on the term life part of it, because the other products sell in large numbers, and they've been selling for the past 25 years. But there's no life insurance in them of material amounts. So if you die, you won't get anything much back. And I see a change taking place there, particularly in the larger cities, where now people will come and they'll do the research to find out what's the best term insurance to buy. Nobody will ask me the question that, term insurance, why should we buy something where we don't get anything back? But the moment you go to the smaller towns, it's a difficult concept. And actually, this is the reason why it doesn't sell is more to do with the way insurance gets distributed. It gets distributed through distributors who earn less on a term insurance than they would do on the other plan. So there's an example of sort of incentives not being completely right.
Coming back to the issue of health, because health is something which is, I think, the largest section of population,
yes,
in a sense, wants to take health insurance. Recently, there was this dispute of the mismatch between what the insurers were willing to pay for certain sets of treatments, where they said that this is what was an acceptable cost according to them, while hospital cost could vary. So sometimes that difference ended up being more. For example, if a certain operation the insurance company was willing to pay 4 lakh rupees for, the hospital would be charging 6.5 or 7. In a sense, the insured person had to pay the difference, which in many cases were larger. Do you think we are evolving as an industry to address these issues? Or there is a lack of communication on the insuring companies' parts, which is resulting into such misunderstandings?
No, I think you've pointed out a very big issue, which is there. And what happens is when this situation occurs, exactly like what you said, most people will give up and they'll say, look, at least out of the cost was 6 lakhs, I got 4 lakhs back. Kuch to mila, and move on. Yes. But that is not the way to approach this, because the insurer has an obligation to pay the full amount. And we have had many cases when I've gone to the ombudsman, I've gone through some grievance process to say, no, you have to pay the full amount. And the insurance company knows that and they pay it up. So there's one example I can give, for here. There's one of the very well-known hospitals in Bombay. Somebody had a cardiac open heart surgery, where the surgeon takes 25 lakhs to do the surgery apart from the hospital cost. So all put together, it comes to 35 lakhs. There's a cap in the insurance, which is much lower. And that case has gone to the ombudsman, and I've seen the ombudsman records. The same hospital, cases pertaining to the same hospital have gone to the ombudsman at least 5-6 times in the past. Each time it's ruled in favor of the patient. And so you have to follow that. You have to follow that process through. It's like a David and Goliath battle, right? But I think we shouldn't forget that in the end, it was David who wins. So you just have to keep at it.
I want to also understand from you, the market is changing rapidly. As people grow older, even to maintain health, which is, everything from Botox to, treatments which make you look better. A lot of people are taking those treatments and expect that as they age, even these treatments, which for a lot of people may be cosmetic, but improves the quality of life to so many of individuals, they should also be covered. Do you see an addressable market there? What is happening in that space? Because there is a lot of, what you can say, healthcare service providers who are in that space, which could be everything from liposuctions, it could be, enhancing the quality of your skin. There are so many treatments, must be hundreds and thousands, but are we addressing that market as an industry?
We are not, and I don't think we will in the next few years, because the principle on which health insurance works is that you get paid for things treatments you have to do, not those you want to do. Because you think about it, right? When you're pricing a product, if you're going to start paying for things people want to do, then you're going to push the prices up and it's just going to become unaffordable. So even if you take something like, you take an eye surgery, you take a LASIK surgery, very common in India, people do it for correcting the sight. There's a guideline which says that, look, if you have a power which is more than 7.5, something like that, very high power, then they'll pay for it, the insurance. But if it's less than that and you're just doing it for cosmetic reasons, then they won't pay for it. I don't see that principle changing in the near future.
You have dealt with other subjects like pension, property, motor and travel. I would like to take up the issue of travel. What is the industry of travel insurance like? What is the kind of acceptance that you are seeing? Premiums are lower, they are not much high. How do you see that growing?
For travel insurance? Yeah, travel insurance actually is very easy to buy and to sort of use it. The main issue is that if somebody has a problem like hypertension, a pre-existing condition, hypertension, cholesterol, thyroid, those kind of issues, which in India 60-70% people do have. Now there the issue is that these are excluded. And if you have hypertension, there are a whole bunch of things which get linked to hypertension. So you have to very intelligently go and pick the insurance which will cover your pre-existing conditions in certain cases. They are available. Those products are there. So most people when they buy travel, they say that we have to go travel insurance, create low last minute pay. I had situations where people have left, they're like sitting in the US, and then they're saying, Kapil, we forgot. Can you buy us the, yeah, so we'll do it. I mean, you can take special approvals and do it, but people take it very lightly.
In fact, the issue of property insurance is very interesting because if you go to the length and breadth of India, we see many houses who are in pristine condition, not in that good condition as times change. Do you think there is a huge untapped potential for property insurance there?
There's a huge untapped potential. I want to ask you a counter question. Can you guess how many earthquakes take place in Delhi every day?
I must admit,
you know the answer?
No, yeah. But I've been concerned in the past, I think about the past 1.5 years, because every few months or every 2 or 3 months, there is a news alert which says that there has been an earthquake, but it's too low on the Richter scale, it's about 2.53, but it's just too frequent. And I'm aware of this fact because I think about 10 years ago, we had a meeting with the divisional commissioner of the Delhi district, and because we are in zone 3, which is one of the riskiest zone, and the presentation given to me said that pray that Delhi doesn't suffer a big earthquake. And I asked why pray, because they say none of the builders are subscribing to the structural integrity that should be there. So if there is a big earthquake, it is going to be bigger calamity than anybody could have imagined. And this was about 10-12 years ago.
So there are, every day in Delhi, there are 3 earthquakes. They are very low on the Richter scale, so you don't feel them, exactly what you said. But a lot of the awareness in this happens when there is one is you write a book, you speak to people, you write in the media, but when a calamity happens, then awareness goes up. When COVID happened, people thought about health insurance. Sometime during the COVID, there were rumors about big earthquakes in Delhi. Those of you, everybody spoke that we think there's going to be an earthquake. And there were 1 or 2 earthquakes by which these tall buildings started swaying a little bit. Immediately, we got a lot of calls saying we want to buy home insurance. So I hope we don't have to depend too much on these calamities to build awareness, but and just depend on sort of good old-fashioned writing, informing, teaching.
So who do you, I mean, of course, everybody wants everyone to read their book, but if I could still ask you that question, who are the people, the target audience, who should definitely read your book? With these classes of people, income group, these people should definitely read. Could you share with us that, these people, because it is in their interest, their benefit, that they should read Happily Insured?
So I must say that I had a very confused state of mind on this. I think we have 2 minutes. I had a very confused state of mind on this. When I started writing the book 4-5 years ago, just because of my natural experiences and bent of mind, I wrote it the way we would write it for industry insider. A credit again to Sachin, who's here, who said, no, I think we should write this for the general layperson and the general reader. And so I spent pretty much 2.5 years doing exactly that, writing it in a way that's more relatable, removing the jargon, removing all that. So it's really relevant to somebody who's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, a layperson who is looking to understand and not get cheated and be intelligent about what they're buying.
Well, thank you so very much for sharing all these nuggets of wisdom with us. But in order for all of you to know anything more on this, I have read bits and pieces of this book. I ran through it over the past 2 days. I'm going to read it in full now because it's a subject of my interest. I'm sure it's a subject of your interest too, because we can't escape insurance in today's world. So this is the book by the author is Kapil Mehta, is sitting right next to me. This book says Happily Insured by Kapil Mehta. I would urge you to go out, buy your copy and read it or download it on Amazon. Thank you so much for your time, and it was a pleasure to interact with you.
Thanks.
Thank
Lovely,
you so
Tarun. Thanks a lot.